We live? Okay, there we go. What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon with Trade with Travis, your online trading mentor. Thank you for being able to pop into this live stream where we're going to end up talking about the Trade with Travis trades that we end up taking this morning and being able to see how well or how poorly we end up doing overall when it came down to those trades. So, as we go through, this is going to be a relatively short live stream. It's just based off of the trades that we end up taking. We end up taking trades on. Um, End up taking them on NAS 100. End up doing very well on NAS 100. End up taking some on XPX 500. Didn't do as well on those. And then after that, end up taking some on US 30. Where we end up doing very well on those. So gonna end up talking about why we end up getting into the moves, and then after that, obviously talking about the overall trades in general. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Understand that forex trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you end up making money today. It always surprised me how long it takes me to be able to get through that and be able to go from there. But all right, so getting this off the screen, I'm going to end up talking about pretty much every trade that we end up taking. Let's start off with Nas and what ended up happening from there. So we end up saying that, or I end up saying that based off of the live stream, based off of the past history, that we've seen a lot of high volume nodes and some large pockets, that relatively large pockets that you can be able to take advantage of based off of what's happening with Nas 100. So remember, high volume nodes typically end up showing consolidation. If you look at this high volume node, you end up seeing that consolidation right there. That to me is basically a no trade zone. Same deal right here when we end up having that consolidation right there, and this high volume node that shows this consolidation right here, and also the consolidation that we're looking at inside of here. Because of those reasons, in the free space that we end up seeing after we end up getting out of that area, right? And what I mean by free space in the overall area, if you notice, I'm going to end up making this purple. If you end up noticing that every time that we end up leaving a high volume node to be able to go to a low volume node, we have all of this free space for overall trading and unfair market prices. Anytime you end up getting unfair market prices, then that means that you have opportunities to be able to make money without having to fight with a lot of people. And to be honest, that is the foundation of literally my newest strategies that I end up going through. We want to be able to not necessarily worry about focusing in on high volume areas where people are trading frequently. We don't care about that portion of the market no more. Literally, you're going to end up winning overall about 33%, 33% or less when it comes down to trading in high volume nodes. And you will end up winning more than almost 70% or more when it comes down to being able to trade at unfair market prices, because the fight is already over with. Once you end up seeing what the actual move is, then you have an opportunity of being able to do it. And essentially what Nas has been doing is basically giving us a roadmap about what's happening. Literally, if you end up taking a look at how the market has swung, it has basically been market has been sideways, big explosive move, sideways, big explosive move, sideways, going back down, big explosive move to the downside. It literally fell right back inside of that same area where that consolidation was, fell down and then consolidated some more. And then after that, earlier today, we end up having the consolidation. And then after the FOMC meeting minutes happened, we talked about this current pocket. We said that two things can happen. One, we could probably see consolidation. And then once we end up seeing consolidation, if we break out of that area, we'll be right inside of this current pocket. And because of that pocket area, that allows us to be able to know how much profit we can be able to go after safely without having to fight with anybody. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to get some of this stuff off the screen, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody kind of understood the reason why we end up taking this trade. When the market ended up breaking out of consolidation, we ended up having a pending order at 11,840. And then from there, we was targeting 11,962 with our stop loss just being inside the lowest portion of the low volume node. Once we end up taking that trade, it ended up taking it, I think, twice when it came down to that movement, and the market was able to push up. All the way up to 940. It did not get to 960 because I had my eyes on it, and I was able to control being able to get out, I ended up getting out of that market a little bit faster just to be able to make a little bit more profit on that. So just to be able to show proof in the overall history of what we end up seeing for today. That's all the moves that we end up having when it came down to that movement. We end up catching 106 pips in certain areas. And then after that, obviously, the areas that we're talking about right here, I was able to make about 140 something dollars just based off of that thought process and that overall trade when the market ended up moving. Currently, right now, if you look at it, we're pretty much 62% on long trades, 79% on short trades. We're making a profit factor over 2.10 with this strategy that we haven't necessarily been using almost less than 6 months. Um, so it's good that we're starting to see a little bit of a U-turn when it comes down to that by being able to just focus in on this trading in low volume nodes. So we end up doing that one. XPX 500 didn't necessarily go as well. We had the same type of movement. If you really think about it, we end up seeing consolidation, big explosive movement, consolidation, big explosive movement, consolidation, big explosive movement to the downside, and the market just basically kept on moving from there. So I ended up placing in a post on. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I ended up posting a post on my actual page as a idea, basically asking everybody, what did you think was going to end up happening next? Because we didn't, because if you look at what happened with Nas, just like how we end up talking about it, and what ended up happening with this, we end up having an opportunity to be able to see that the market could basically choose between both of those things, and then after to make the movement. So because we end up having FOMC meeting minutes, it was almost expected that we're probably going to see consolidation. That is what happened. We end up seeing a consolidation, and then we end up having our pending orders at 38.45, and we end up pushing the market all the way past 38.60 and 38.75. Now, there's still an expectation that if this market stays above this point of control, that the market will continue to push all the way up to 3,900. I think that the market could potentially end up doing that. But when it came down to those trades, I didn't necessarily have the greatest say when it came down to that movement. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Want to, let's see. Uh, so we end up seeing a couple trades when it came down to that. We end up hedging both of them. It ended up being a break-even trade from there. $15 on the previous one, and then after that, we end up having a couple breakout buys and sales from there. But end up losing currently right now down on this one $762. But I think that for the day, that's okay. It's less than a fraction of the percent when it comes down to the account. So gotta go from there. Last trade of the day that we end up taking was on US 30. Um, and with US 30, we was kind of in a bad situation. And let me explain what I mean. So same movement, sideways, explosive, sideways, down, sideways, explosive. Then after that, large consolidation because this large high volume node. And then after that, we were pretty much inside of this area pretty much most of the day. Now, the one thing that I end up saying when I was looking at this market earlier, I end up at the beginning of the day, I said that I was not going to end up trading on US 30. I said that more than likely there will not be a good position because the market was still in consolidation, wasn't breaking out compared to what the other two were. And legitimately, the first thing I did was I ended up taking a buy trade. I mean, I ended up taking a buy trade right when the market broke out of the high volume node in the point of control, right around 31. I think it was right around 31.20. My thought process was that I felt like the market was going to end up going up to 31.250, and the market did. It ended up hitting that point when it came down to the movement. It was a quick and easy scalp when it came down to that move, but I still wouldn't have recommended taking the trade at that particular point. The only reason why I wouldn't have taken the trade like I ended up doing is because the market is still in this phase of consolidation. Obviously, we're still in the middle of this high volume node. As soon as we end up breaking out of 31,250, I think that will be a great area to be able to start placing in your pending buys if the market continues to bounce like that. But the one thing that I will say is, and I'm seeing it on all three charts now at this particular point, if you end up taking a look at the daily, on Nas, on US 30, and on XPX 500, and even with German 40. you see that the market is not in the sell zone. Obviously, remember the market long term has been to the downside, so um, don't expect that the market may not necessarily just turn around and start looking at being able to fall. And if that does happen, then make sure that you're ready and prepared for the market. So when it does fall, you can be able to have a good order all the way through based off of that movement. So that was pretty much every trade that we ended up taking today. Really didn't. Uh, Everybody ended up doing pretty well from what I ended up seeing and all of the message that I ended up having. If you're interested in being a part of our mailing list, mm, excuse me, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Jeez. Um, if you want to be a part of our mailing list and be able to get some of the trades that we end up having, being able to get into those private rooms, being able to talk about some of the trades and ideas and everything else like that, all you have to do is go to this website right here. Um, and from there, obviously, essentially what it will end up doing is just placing you on our mailing list. So you can be able to get those trade ideas, some of the stuff that we end up having on Trade Review, a little bit more detail and everything else like that if you want to go from there. But like always, um, make sure that you're playing trade your plan. Everyone, I'll see y'all again tomorrow morning.